Hi guys, and welcome back to another writing vlog. My last writing vlog was a very big one, very exciting, and before that I had a lot of quite exciting ones where I was reaching a lot of targets and working really hard and writing all of the words, and this one is not going to be that kind of video. This one is pretty much going to be a moan and just unloading, because I feel like it's very important to show the low moments as well as the high, and writing for me is very difficult at the moment. I mean, I still enjoy it, I still love it, it's still what I want to do, but this is hard. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with this side of the process, and I really wanted to share that with you today, because you see me on social media, you see me on my channel talking about how amazing writing is and how I'm doing all these amazing things, and it is not like that all of the time. It really isn't. Writing is not the glamorous job that people think it is, and I love it. I feel very lucky that I can write and that I can do it, but it's difficult, and I really wanted to share that with you today. But I wanted to start off by sharing with you how grateful I was for all your amazing comments on my last video. You can go and watch that video and all of my other writing videos. I'll leave a link to the playlist I put together in the description, or up here. I think it's up here. Maybe it's up here. One of these ways, so you can go and watch my other writing videos if you wanted to catch up. But I wanted to start this by answering some of the questions that you had on that video, because there were quite a few that I thought would be really interesting to discuss, because my writing process has been a bit weird and a bit unusual. So the first one was from Darklight, who asked, how were literary agents contacting you asking you to submit to them even before you were done with the book? I don't understand. And they made a follow-up and said, I assume you are a well-known influencer in the UK book world due to your channel. I'm just trying to make sense of things, because that's not usually how things go for most writers that are absolute unknowns. I actually read a really interesting article that featured Carrie Hope Fletcher the other day on I think 1080, and she was talking about writing and I think her stage stuff as well, and how she went about it in an opposite way, particularly with her writing, in the fact that she already had a platform and then she wrote, whereas other authors write and then have a platform. And I suppose it's a bit like that with me, where I was always going to write. I've always wanted to be an author, but I've built the platform before I've done the writing, and now I'm doing the writing, and so it's gone a bit opposite for me. But I suppose it is partly due to the platform I have, but also because I'm in the book industry, and so I know a lot of people in the book industry, because I work with publishers, I work with some agents sometimes, and so we're all part of the same little bubble. And so where a beauty YouTuber might go about it differently, I don't know how it works for other people. Some people might go through agencies rather than an actual like literary agency. There are so many different routes. The way that I went about it was just to get a literary agent, and they contacted me because they knew I was writing a book, and maybe they'd seen my blog or watched some of my videos, and then they thought, oh, she's writing a book, let's see if she'd like to send it to us. And it was definitely under the proviso that I wasn't going to get signed. There wasn't a guarantee, but I suppose I built a platform and they must have seen something in my writing that I liked. So I definitely went about it in a very opposite way. But it doesn't mean I haven't worked as hard as other authors. And I've seen a lot on BookTube recently, because Christine from Poland Bananas Books has just got a book deal. And there was a lot of controversy, a lot of people saying that she shouldn't have got a book deal because other people work really hard. And I really don't agree with that, because, for example, with my channel, I've put 6 years of work into my blog and YouTube channel, and it doesn't mean that I've done that overnight. It doesn't mean that it just clicked my fingers and that's how it went. Obviously I'm very lucky. I'm very privileged to be in a position where I don't have to work, for example, because I can work through YouTube. Some people don't have that option, and there are other things that I'm very lucky. I'm very privileged to be in a position. So in terms of that, I've been able to build that platform and I've been able to write. And so, you know, some people don't get the luxury to do stuff like that, but I very much didn't just click my fingers and here was this audience watching me. And I definitely don't consider it in that way anyway, because I just have fun on YouTube and talk about books that I love. I really don't understand that thinking like, oh, you just got a book deal because you were published. But if you'd written a book that was absolutely rubbish, then publishers wouldn't buy it anyway. So it's definitely just an opposite direction of going about it, rather than you've just been handed it on a plate. I really just don't get that mentality, and maybe I'll talk about it a bit more. If anything happens, then we'll see what happens, but just because I've got a few thousand subscribers doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to get published. Someone might read it and think it's absolute rubbish. Who knows what's going to happen, but I thought it was a really interesting thing to discuss. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it, because I'm a writer and a booktuber, and people are getting a bit funny about booktubers writing books, but I don't really understand that. Another question I had was from Esme Spontalia, and she said, can you do a video on tips you would give to people starting on writing? I might do a blog post on this actually, but I suppose the main piece of advice I could give is just to write. Just write. Don't think about getting the agent, don't think about getting a publisher. Have it in your mind, yes, but don't have that be your driving force. Have your driving force be finishing that book, and then you can go about thinking about everything else. Just write. Find a book that you're really passionate about. What I did when I wrote this book was I wrote a list of every single thing I really wanted to include in a book, everything I loved most about books, and then I wrote that book. I compiled it all together, and that is a book that I have. So it's books, social media, friendship. Those are the three main parts of my book and what it's about, and I included all of those. I knew I wanted a scene in there with periods. That's in there. I knew I wanted it to be like with a feminist twist, but it's not overtly feminist either. So I just included everything that I really wanted to see in a book, and that's how I went about it. I think I'll do a blog post with even more tips, because I think it's a much better platform rather than me rambling on here. But yeah, just write. Keep your head down, get those words on the page. You can sort them out afterwards. They might be rubbish, but just write them and just get them down. So those are the two questions I wanted to answer from the last vlog, and now I'm going to do a little update, because I am currently editing. I think I'm on the 5th draft now, and to be quite honest, I've read these words too many times. I've read this book so many times now, because I wrote an original draft, which was pretty much a draft 0. I didn't go back to that. I rewrote it completely with a few scenes kept in. Probably 1 or 2 scenes were kept from that draft. Then I wrote my main draft in January. I wrote 30,000 words of that. Then I went back to it in July, and I read all of those words again as I was editing them and adding more and filling out the book. Then I did another edit in September, or maybe August/September. Then, before I submitted it, I read the whole thing and edited it, spelling mistakes and stuff. Then I sent it off. Now I'm rereading it again as I'm editing it, and oh my gosh, you know when you read a book and the words swim in front of the page because you've just read it so many times? That is how I'm feeling at the moment. I cannot cope with all the times I've read this book. I can read it in my mind. I'm pretty sure I know every single word off by heart because I've read it that many times, and it's driving me a little bit insane, I've got to be honest. I'm currently 20,000 words into the edit, and I'm hoping that by the time this video goes live, I'll be at around 25,000 words. I'm on track to hit my deadline, but I wanted to be a bit ahead of my deadline, and I'm just not at the moment, so I'm going to try and crack on with it and get a bit ahead of myself because Christmas is coming up and I don't really want to be writing on Christmas Day, but it's getting to the point where I'm probably going to have to write on Christmas Day just to finish on time. This is the first time with a proper deadline that somebody else has set me, and I am finding that really difficult because I don't feel pressure, but I don't want to let my agent down, and I don't want to let myself down. Like, I really want to hit that deadline, and I know I'm going to hit it. Like, there's no issue with me not hitting that deadline, but the fact that there's a deadline there, the fact that I've got a date to hit, that's a bit like, whoa. I want to rebel. I feel like a rebellious teenager, and I'm like, I don't want to hit that deadline, but I'm going to, and I really love my book. There's no problem with not hitting the deadline, but it's just weird to have one. It's a completely different side to writing, and I think it was a bit like I really wanted to get an agent. I really wanted that to happen, and now it's happened, and I'm thinking ahead to the next stage and the next stage, and I feel like I'm catching up with myself. It's a bit of an in-between phase because I've got the agent and now I'm working to get a publisher, and it is really in between because I haven't, you know, I'm going to have another round of edits. I'm going to have to do line edits, I think, or copy. I don't know what a line or a copy edit is, let's be honest. I'm just spewing out words here. One of them, the one next, where there might still be changes to do. I don't know what stage I'll be at with this draft. I might have to do more edits, or it might just be the stage where you go through line by line. So I think that's a line edit. You go through line by line and just do spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, continuity errors, stuff like that before it can be submitted. So I'm gonna have to read it again. I'm getting fed up of reading it. I just want to read something else. It's not my own words. Or there's that shiny new idea in my head. I'm like, yeah, I want to write this book. And it's like, no, you've got to stick to one book at the moment. It's fine. I'm fine with it. I'm not too stressed about it. I don't feel too much pressure, but it's just that it's there and it's a very different side of working. It's a different way of working that I'm not too used to yet. It's a different side of being an author that I just have never had to worry about until now. I'm struggling with it a bit because I had this phase about a week ago where I was super hormonal, super fed up, super down with my writing. I just felt like I couldn't write at all. I felt like the absolute worst writer in the world. I was like, how I've got an agent because my writing is so rubbish, and I just really doubted myself. And now that's passed and I can really focus on what I've got to do, but it was a really hard point where I just couldn't write for about a week and a half, and I was just aware, like, you've got a deadline, you've got to keep working. But I took a break, an unintentional break, and then I read it back through and I realised that it's actually not that bad. Some people have written better, but a lot of people have written worse. And I'm just keeping that in mind as I'm writing. I've got to the point when I was querying agents, I had this insane self-belief, like, you've got this, you can do this, and now it's completely gone. It's like, whoa, where did that go? It's gone. Everyone's like, get an agent, it's fun, it's great, and then you get there and it's like, what next? The main things I've been doing with this edit is going back through each individual scene, taking one character out, she's not there anymore. I've added a new character in who is very minor character but really adds to the characterization of the main character, or one of the main characters, and so that's good because I think I took out two characters actually who just weren't really adding anything to the plot, but this character definitely is, and I am loving her. I just want everyone to meet my characters now. I'm so fed up of just keeping them to myself. I really want to share them with you and share how amazing they are. They're my best friends. I've said that before, but I love them. They are really what's helping me at the moment, just remembering how much I love them and how much I want other people to love them too. And also I've had in mind at the moment a lot about just the fact that because it's this other stage and I'm getting closer to querying publishers, like, what if I get a deal and then other people read my book? What happens then? I'm thinking about that a lot at the moment, and I'm thinking a lot of just kind of imagining it being in shops and imagining a book launch and stuff, because I feel like that's the kind of stuff that's driving me on. I'm doing it for myself, obviously, and I love the story and I love these characters, but I'm having to think a lot outwardly at the moment, and if it doesn't happen with this book, hopefully it will happen with another book. That's something that I'm keeping in mind because it is so in between, like I've said, and it's just so unknown. I've got the agent, but I might not get a publisher, and so it's like you're on a high and then you've got to think realistically, and then you might be on another high but you've got to think realistically, and I don't want to think realistically. I want it to all be great, but it might not be, and so I have got to think realistically about it. I think it's the scrutinising and that tiny detail and working to that plan that's been put in place that is difficult, because I've got this vision in my head and the story has advanced in such a way that I'm really happy with it. It's also just not my book anymore, and that's a different thing. It's being like, what are people going to enjoy? Not just what I'm going to enjoy, but what are people going to enjoy when they read it? And it's thinking towards that audience now, where before it wasn't. Thinking towards, well, how are you going to make it the best book that it can possibly be, which is exciting and challenging, but the challenge is also quite daunting because I've got my whole book in front of me. But something I found quite good to do is to only take it one chapter at a time. So I've got the other chapters in mind, but when I come to edit, what I'm doing is taking one chapter and putting it in a new Word document and then adding them to those Word documents. So at the moment I can see that I'm up to 20,000. I'm at 19,990 words, and then after that because I've added a new chapter in, which I love this new chapter. I think it's one of the best. I'm not sure. I feel like it's one of the best. And my second chapter I changed completely. I completely rewrote that and I think it's one of the best again. So when I come to the next scene, I'll just add in another one. But I've also been taking it by pages rather than word count, because I'm very conscious of my word count and how it might be going up. I don't want it to go up too much, but I've also got a lot that I want to add in, so it's give and take something out, put something in, and make it better that way. So yeah, I'm at 80 pages at the moment. I'm working in pages rather than word count, because when I was drafting it was very much, I wrote 1,000 words today, and it's not about that now. It's about, okay, take away the word count, what have you got? What is there, the actual content, rather than getting it on the page. So you're refining it rather than actually writing it now. It is really challenging, but I'm excited about the challenge as well. I really did want to talk about this side of the process and just show how unglamorous and difficult it can be sometimes. And maybe it will cheer up in a week. Maybe it'll be different again. But I just wanted to share that, and just to share how I was getting on. I'm getting there. I'll get there at some point. It will happen. But at the moment it just feels like I think the best analogy to use is like there is a Dementor from Harry Potter sucking my soul out, and that is how editing feels. It feels like a real drag. Not a chore, but a drag. And it's very different to how writing it was, which was very quick in the summer, very much. I wrote 68,000 words in about 22 days, and that was insane. That was not realistic whatsoever. It's never going to happen again, let's be real. But it's very different to how that was. Very different to how that was. We'll see how the next side of it goes. I don't know. I shall have another vlog coming up in a little bit, I should think. Maybe after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year. Maybe I'll do a vlog. Writing vlogs will be coming, but I've got to get in the right frame of mind, and that's definitely not how I've been at the moment. You don't want to hear me moaning for 20 minutes in a vlog. Yeah, I've totally done that now, haven't I? I just like this kind of diary at the moment, and just being out of the moment and just reflecting rather than being, oh my gosh, I can't do this. That's pretty much how I've been. We'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. I think I need it. Tell me all about what you're writing at the moment as well. I'd really like to hear projects that you're working on, whether you're writing something at the moment, whether you're not writing something, whether it's a screenplay, a radio play, a actual book, non-fiction, blog posts. Tell me all about it. I'd like to know in the comments. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll leave a link to my writing playlist in the description, and I will see you guys soon. Happy writing!